Welcome back to another episode of WCTV's Senior Spotlights. I'm Rachel Pellegrino, joined today by Riley Holsinger from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Riley's a senior sports media major. So first of all, Johnstown is probably about 2 hours away from here. So let's talk about why you decided to come to Waynesburg.
Yeah, well, first off, I'm just very happy that we decided to twin today and wear the same shirt. Really unplanned twinning, but it worked out for the best. So talking a little bit about why I decided to come to Waynesburg University. Well, pretty much starts back when I was 9 years old, and most kids at that age are watching Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney, whatever it is. Instead, I was that kid that was glued to watching ESPN and Around the Horn and Pardon the Interruption. So I really grew a love for the sports media side of ESPN, not just the sports side of it right there. And sports were a pretty big part of my life growing up. Did wrestling, track, baseball, football. So sports were a pretty big part of my life growing up. And it's funny because I mentioned I was a 9-year-old watching ESPN, so when I would go to class the next day and I would hear the morning announcements, immediately after the morning announcements, I would hop to the back of the classroom and I would give a little sports report of the big news that happened the past day in the sports world. So it's kind of a cool thing that I'm able to follow my childhood dream a little bit. Now, when I went to high school, I kind of lost focus of what I wanted to do. I thought about being a teacher, a history teacher, an engineer. But then I got an invite to Lanny Frateri's sports announcing camp, and I ultimately didn't go to the camp, but it put Waynesburg on the map, and it put sports media programs on the map, and I just came here for a visit, and I honestly loved my tour in general. It was a great tour. It felt like home.
That's awesome. It's interesting that you mentioned just sports, and that's actually the reason you came to Waynesburg, because here at Waynesburg, you've been involved in a little bit of everything. So let's talk about a little bit of what you've been involved here at Waynesburg University.
Yeah, so originally you mentioned it about sports. Well, originally I came here to wrestle as well at Waynesburg. I was talking to coaches on the wrestling team and the football team, and I originally came here to wrestle, and I only did that my freshman year. But other than that, I was a part of the radio station here, the Yellow Jacket, the TV station, and the Waynesburg University Sports Network, and we use that term big bucket all the time. Well, I ended up getting my hands in a lot of those different areas very fast as well. I ended up getting involved within the first week in a lot of those different areas, like the radio station, TV station, with the sports network. So this university has offered me a lot of cool opportunities through those organizations and clubs, and even some leadership opportunities too.
Exactly. Like you mentioned, you've been assistant general manager for the WCTV and also general manager currently of WCTV. So what would you say out of all those organizations that you've been involved in, because you've basically been involved in everything here in the department, what would you say has been the most influential?
Yeah, so I think one of the big reasons why I decided that I wanted to be a part of all those different clubs is because it kind of fuels my future career. The reason why I'm doing that stuff is to help build and get valuable skills and learn a lot of knowledge to be able to build my future career. So that's pretty much the main reason why I did that. Talking about most influential moment, there's definitely a couple of them when it comes to those clubs, but I'm going to pick one that's outside of it, and I'm going to probably say me deciding to retire my freshman year from wrestling, because at this point I really wasn't enjoying wrestling anymore. I wasn't having too much fun watching weight for pretty much the bulk of my freshman year here, and kind of after that moment I became a lot more of a happier, a lot more of a positive person. Just kind of my whole perspective on the world changed. So I'd say kind of outside of all those organizations, I think that might be the most influential moment. But if I had to pick one that regarded all of those, I would say probably covering Steelers training camp after my freshman year, because that moment really taught me that if I wanted to be great, this moment right here is going to kind of help fuel that right now, because it was kind of one of those experiences that I was living out that childhood dream. It was a little bit of a taste of it, and if that didn't motivate me, I don't know what would have to follow that dream.
And basically just exactly what you said. You kind of touched on this already, but let's talk about some of the personal growth you've seen over those years.
Yeah, so honestly, there's a lot of personal growth I've seen in myself. The one area I didn't see growth in myself was my height, still remaining in that 5'7" to 5'9" range. Haven't measured it in a while, but overall, just talking about growth, I've seen it in a lot of different areas, whether if it's with my leadership styles, whether if it's as a person and carrying that more happy and that more positive mindset, just being willing to help out a lot of different people, even if it's something that might not impact me, just being a kind person and doing stuff of that nature right there. Just kind of also being a little bit more confident as a person as well. I kind of came here to Waynesburg as a timid and a shy person, and throughout my 4 years and also having to do a lot of reporting and stuff, it helps you kind of get get comfortable with the uncomfortable, which I think is a pretty big thing for not only the reporting field that I plan to go into, but just life in general, is just being comfortable with those areas.
So overall, would you say that you're happy that you chose Waynesburg University?
Absolutely. I would say it's probably the best decision that I've ever made in my life. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here at Waynesburg University, and I'll be sad to graduate from here in just a few days, and it's going to be a sad moment. It's going to be bittersweet. I'm really proud of all of the work that we've put in over the past 4 years here, not only for myself, but all the other organizations like the sports network, like the radio station, TV station. I'm just really proud to look at that growth that's not only in myself, but all of those areas too. And I'm just going to really miss Waynesburg University a lot, and all the people here too, because it's been fantastic.
And like you said, graduation's coming up in just a few days. So what are your plans after graduation?
Yeah, so after graduation, I ended up securing a job at WBOY TV in Clarksburg and Morgantown, West Virginia. I think I'm going to be covering news a little bit more out of Morgantown, but I also will be able to cover sports, which is easily my bread and butter and one of my loves of my life. So I'm certainly going to enjoy covering sports, and in my future, I'm hopefully going to be a sports anchor or a sports reporter at a television station. So I have a lot to look forward to, and I'm still chasing that childhood dream, which not many people in college can really say. So I'm really glad that I'm able to kind of still follow out that dream and everything.
And then what advice would you give to prospective students who are trying to follow out that dream just like you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just say just get as much involved as you possibly can here. The stuff that you do in college, and especially in the Department of Communication, is only going to help yourself for your future here. Just get involved as much as you can, even in those areas that you don't think you're good at or don't want to go into. For an example, with the Yellow Jacket and writing, I came here and I was a terrible writer. And talking about growth, I had to go to the writing center my freshman year here, and then I kind of progressed as my time went on here at Waynesburg, got involved, got better at writing, because that's a pretty critical skill for not only anything in communication, but anything out there in the world, whether it's business, nursing, anything. Writing's a very critical skill, so try and learn new skills. Always carry that mindset to always improve. That's something that I've carried in my time here at Waynesburg since my freshman year. I've always wanted to improve every day, whether if it's as a person or as a member of the media field. So I'd say get involved and try and carry that mindset that you look to improve day in and day out.
Now, last question. What will you miss most at Waynesburg University?
Yeah, so I was talking to my roommate Brock Owens on the walk up here, and it's a very hot day outside, just over 80 degrees right now. And the one thing that I told him that I definitely won't miss is living in Thayer Hall back when it was super hot. Those days were not fun living in there. I'm certainly enjoying the Willison air conditioning, but it's tough for me to just pick one thing that I'll miss most, because as I mentioned, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here at Waynesburg University. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed every opportunity that I've been given through the department and outside of the department. But I think I ultimately miss those people that are close to me, all of those friends and those relationships that I've built over my 4 years here. Very thankful for leadership from Lanny Fratteri, Melinda Roeder, Professor Krause. The list goes on and on, Joe Starkey, and all the friends here that I built at Waynesburg, including you as well. I'm going to certainly miss all of those people because, as I mentioned a lot, I grew up as an only child, and coming here to Waynesburg University, being a part of the Department of Communication, just going here in general, has provided me with a lot of close friends, which I like to call brothers and sisters. So I'm certainly going to miss those relationships probably the most.
Well, on behalf of myself and the rest of the communication department, you will sure be missed as well. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Senior Spotlights on WCTV. We would like to congratulate all of the seniors graduating in the class of 2022. This has been WCTV. Thanks for tuning in.